Hi, I'm Ben Weiss, developer of the Plan Analyst software. This software was developed while I was working as a plan examiner and has been improved since 1986 thanks to the feedback from thousands of users. Plan Analyst makes it easy to create code studies and correction reports. It simplifies the task of searching through the code for requirements, doing the required calculations, and creating reports. This makes the plan review process fast and accurate. How do I use Plan Analyst? The first time you use Plan Analyst, you may want to adjust the settings to your preferences. You can adjust the font to a font that you prefer. You can select whether you want it to default to the metric system or the US system. You can set the defaults for report types, either short reports or long reports. You can edit the code study requirements to add ones that you use locally or to make wording the way you would prefer it. And for the correction reports, you can adjust the questions and the responses that will show up in the correction reports. And you can also edit comments. Now, I'm not going to go through detail here, but for this or anything else about the program, we have a manual on program here. You click that. You bring the manual in, and you can see here for the pull-down menus, there is a picture of the screen and an explanation how to do each one of them, and that's for the whole program. So this will be very helpful if you need that. Now, to actually start a project, you either can use the pull-down menus, or you can use the buttons. For this one, we'll do the button. So to enter the project identification information, we're going to identification number, which I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 11 here. That's just what this would normally be, would be your tracking number, your permit number, your project number, whatever you use in your office to number this particular project. For the description, I'm just going to enter office, warehouse, and we'll put in an address. And for the architect, we'll just put in UG Architecture. For the engineers, we'll put in EEE Engineers. And for the construction, we'll just put XYZ Construction. Now for the code study by, it's defaulting my name because when I set this up, I put my name in there. When you set the program up, you would put your name in, and that would be what it uses from that point on until you change it. Now, our next option is the metric system or the US measurements. It's defaulting to the US measurements because that was what was when it was set up. You can change that to metric, or you can mix them. Like if you had a plan that was in the metric system, but you wanted to report in US measurements, you can input it in metric, and when you get your reports in US measurements, and it'll do all the conversions for you. Or if you had the received the plans in US measurements, but you wanted to see your reports in the metric system, you can do that. So for this example, we're going to just use the metric system for both. Interior construction, we're doing an entire building, so this would not be interior. Number of firewalls, these are firewalls that separate the building into multiple buildings, and this is only used when you have a very large building. On all of our screens, we have these yellow boxes. You'll notice that as we go through the program. That helps you understand what the program is looking for at this point. We're ready to start actually describing the building at this point. The building we're going to describe is going to be this from the sketch that I've drawn up here. And we see that it has 4 floors. And we see on the site plan here that it tells that it's 15 meters high. So that gives us the information we need to start here. So we're going to tell it that it's 15 meters high, and it is 4 stories. We don't have any basements. So we've completed this form, so we're ready to click the continue button. The next form, we're going to input the interior. the floor that we are describing is up here. So we had 4 floors, so there's 4 floors listed there. This box up here at the top is for each floor. So you enter that information once for each floor. This area down here is for each area. So you're going to fill out the information in this for each area on that floor. On our first floor, we have 3 areas. We have an office area, we have a warehouse area, and we have a sales area. And so we're going to enter those 3 areas. Now, when you enter an area, the area is selected from this list, and these items have additional questions to help you determine it. Like you say, if, for example, if you pick an airport terminal, you're going to see down here in the list that it gives you these different uses. That's so it can determine which occupant factor to use for this one. Another example would be like a swimming pool. A swimming pool would have different questions. It would ask you whether it has no spectator seating or spectator seating. If it's no spectator seating, then it's going to calculate the allowable area or allowable number of occupants based on the square footage. And since the code has a different square footage for the pool than a deck, it's asking you for the area of the pool so it can determine that. If you told it you had spectator seating, then it's just going to simply ask you for the total occupant load. This particular thing, we're going to start out with the warehouse, so we're going to put in warehouse, and you'll notice down here now the list is showing you the different possible uses of that warehouse, and we would select the appropriate use. In this particular case, we're just going to let it do the default of S1, moderate hazard, and so the next step would be to put in the floor area. In this particular example, it's 3250. We do not have any common travel path within the warehouse. It does not have a corridor in the warehouse, and it's not an unoccupied accessory area. I'll explain that in more detail in area. You'll notice when we clicked warehouse, over here it defaulted to the occupancy group to help you determine that. So now that we have entered that area, we have this optional information down here. You can put in the number of exits from the warehouse. We look at our plans and we see it has two exits. Now, for the example here, to make things simpler, we're just going to assume every exit is 1 meter wide. So we're going to put in, for the exit width, we're going to put in 2. And the travel distance within this is 80 meters. Now we've completed everything for this floor, or this area. So we're going to add this area to the floor. So we've added this area to the floor. Now you see the warehouse is listed in the areas on this floor, and the total floor area is the area of that warehouse. The next thing that we're going to add on this is our office area. So we're going to scroll up here and find office. So we're going to click office. And we look at our plans, and the office area is 500 square meters. It does not have any common travel distance. And the max travel distance is, I'm going to skip down here and do that, 15. It has 2 exits, and their exit width is 2 meters. It is not an unoccupied accessory area. Now I'm going to enter the floor area information for this floor. You can do this at any time. You can do it at the beginning, you can do it at the end, anywhere in between. But remember, as I mentioned earlier, you're going to have to do it once. So for this floor, we have a travel distance of 80 meters. We do not have any common travel distance. We look at the plans and we see have 6 exits out of this, and total width, because one of them is a double door, would be 7 meters wide. So now we're going to add our office area of 500, and it has the 2 exits, so we're going to add that to the floor. So we now have a warehouse and an office area. The only other thing that we saw on the plans was the sales area. So we're going to add the sales area next. The sales area is 1,000 square meters. So we're going to enter sales area. I'm going to put in 1,000. It's not unoccupied accessory. We look at our plans and we see our sales area has 2 exits. One of them is a double door, so our width is 3. And the maximum travel distance in our sales area is 20. And again, you'll notice over here it defaulted to M occupancy for mercantile. And so we're going to add that to the main floor. And so we've added everything we need to have on the first floor. So we're ready to start on the second floor. To do the second floor, we just simply click on floor 2 up here. Notice it blanks everything out. So on our second floor, the total area on that floor will be determined as we add these. The maximum travel distance on this floor is 90, so we'll enter 90 there. The common travel distance on this floor is 30. We have 2 exits, and the width of the exits on this floor is 2. Okay, we have on this floor 3 office areas and a hallway and a corridor. So we have Office 201, Office 202, and Office 203, some toilets, and a hallway and stairs. So, first thing we're going to input is an office, and we want it to match the plan. So you can adjust this to match the plan. So we're going to pick Office 201. The floor area is 2666. It does not have a corridor in it. It is not an occupied area. The number of exits out of this office is 2. The exit width is 2, and the maximum travel distance out of this office is 50. So we're going to add that to our floor. Now we've got another office, and that was Office 202. And for Office 202, the floor area is 700. No common distance within this. The maximum travel distance within that was 20. It has 1 exit. I'm bouncing around a little bit here, but it's just to show you don't have to do it in order. And no corridor. So this floor area is described, so we're going to add it to the main floor. The next area on this floor is another office, and it's going to be Office 203. Office 203 is 1,200 square feet, 1,200 square meters in area. It does not have a corridor, not unoccupied accessory area, and number of exits out of this area we'll leave blank just to show you in the report how that looks different. These are optional. If you put in the number of exits, it's going to find the number of exits required and compare them, and in the report tell you whether that's okay or not. If you don't put anything in there, it will still tell you the number of exits required, but it won't tell you whether it's okay or not. So, leaving this area blank, we're going to add this one to the floor. Now, you'll notice that on our plans, again, we have a hallway area and a toilet area. Now, when you scroll through this list, you will notice there is no hallway on there, there's no corridor on there, and there is no toilets on there. The reason that is that way is because we only used words in this list that is in the code. We didn't want to make our own definitions of things. See, code says that when it is not an area is not defined in the code, to use the area that it most likely resembles. So in this case, we're in an office building. So for our toilets, what we're going to do is select an office area. We're going to change that name to toilets. Our toilet area was 40 square meters. And we're going to use the unoccupied accessory area this time. The unoccupied accessory area is for an area that either is never occupied, like a shaft or something like that, or it is for areas that are either occupied, the person occupying is either there or someplace else on the floor. Say, in toilets, for example, you're either going to be in the toilet or you're going to be at the conference room or your office or wherever. You're not going to be in both places. So this would be a good place to say this is an unoccupied accessory area. So we have 1 exit out of this area, and the total width of the exits out of this area is 1. And we're going to add that to our floor. The last area we have is our hallway and stairways. So we're going to pick office again, since that's the closest thing to it. We're going to do hallway and stairs. And the area of that is 144. The distance of common travel in that area is 50. Again, we're going to use it as an unoccupied accessory area. It has 2 exits out of it. Total width of exits is 2, and the maximum travel distance in that is 50. So, actually I put the common in there, and that really doesn't belong there. So, we're going to add this to the main floor. And you can see here's the total for the floor, and here's all of our areas on the floor. We look at our plans, we say we're good, we got it all covered. So we're ready to go to floor 3. On floor 3, we have a conference room and an office. Actually, 3rd and 4th floors are identical. So we have 2 areas on this floor. So the office area on this floor is 4610 square meters. It does not have a common distance. It is not on an accessory. And the number of exits from this office is 2. And the number of exits, so the exit width is 2. So we're going to add this to this floor. We have one more area on this floor, and this is a conference room. And so we scroll up until we find conference room. We click conference room. You'll notice over here on it's an A3 now. So it's still figuring this out for you, and you'll notice the square meters per occupant is changing. Based on that, you can choose either fixed seats. If you do that, you'll enter the number of occupants. If it's not fixed seats, which is a typical conference room, it would calculate it based on this number here. So the floor area of this conference room is 140. It has 1 exit, and the exit width from it is 1. And that is all the information we'll enter for this one. So we'll add this to this floor. So we have completed the 3rd floor now. So we're ready to complete the 4th floor. Now we remember on our plans that the 3rd floor and 4th floor are identical. And we think I'd really rather not have to type all this information in again. Well, Plan Analyst covers that. If you notice here in this yellow box, it says double click to copy another floor. So we're going to double click the 4th floor. And we're going to say it's available floors to copy is the one we're going to click is the 3rd because it's the same as the 3rd. So we're going to copy the 3rd floor to the 4th floor, and we're going to copy the floor. Now you'll look on the 4th, while we got the 4th floor highlighted up here, you'll notice it has the same 2 areas that we had on the 3rd floor. So now at this point, we have totally completed our description of the building interior, and our next step is to move on to the property description. Now, if you need to quit to go do something else, you can quit this and save the project, and it'll come right back to where you left. Or if you need to go back to a previous form, you can click back at this point. So we're going to click continue, and this is taking us to the property. Now, when we look at our property, I'm going to bring up our plan again here real quick and scroll up to the property. We have a street on the north side, a property line real close on the east side, a property line on the south side, and another building on the west side. So we're going to, and we've measured the perimeter of this, and the total perimeter is 290 meters, and the open perimeter is 195. And so we're going to use this information to enter here. So the total perimeter is 290. The open perimeter is 195. Now, we give you a little direction here. You notice that open space is having 6.096 meters or more. And so that's why we didn't use all the way around. And the minimum we had was 12 meters. On the north side, we have a street or public way, so we're going to click that. And it's asking for the distance to the public way, which is 10 meters. The width of the public way is 30 meters. Now, on the other side, we have 3 meters to a property line. On the back side or south side, we have 12 meters to a property line. And on the other side, we had a building, as you might remember. So we're going to click building, and now it's wanting to imaginary line. Now, for this particular project, I just assumed the imaginary line in the middle here. But in real life, what you would have to do is look at this existing building, evaluate the exterior walls, what the requirements are for those exterior walls, and you'd have to assume this property line at least as far away from that building as it does to make so that you did not have to make any changes in the existing building or make it non-complying. So for our example here, we're just simply going to put 12 meters to that line and 24 meters to the building. So we've completed our property description, and we're going to click continue. Next, we're going to input the type of construction, and we're going to input the whether we have a sprinkler system or not, and how we are using that sprinkler system, and whether we want to use this separated. So the first thing we could do is check all types. Well, we see that for this particular building, we've only got one A and B. Now, right at the bottom, currently it's selecting non-separated occupancies, which means it's using the most restrictive of all the different uses in that building and using that for the entire building. So that limits the type of construction. So we think, oh, what if we add a sprinkler system? So we check all with sprinkler system. Well, we've added a sprinkler system, but it didn't give any more types of construction. So we think, okay, maybe we should separate the occupancies with firewalls, or fire barriers. So we do that, and we see, oh, we got a lot more options. So we think, oh, maybe we don't need the sprinkler system now that we're separating them. So we say no sprinkler system. Well, now we're back to 1A and 1B, and we really don't want to do that high of level of construction. So we'll put the sprinkler system back on. Now you think, well, I want to substitute for 1 hour. So if you do the substitution for 1 hour, you see that those go away. And you don't want to use type 4 because it's all wood, and we're not doing an all wood heavy timber building. So we take these back off, and we see, okay, so we want a non-combustible building. And you think, well, where did I get that? Okay, if you look at type 2A, if you hold the cursor over that, you see it shows all non-combustible, 1 hour frame, 1 hour floor. So for each one of these types of constructions, if you're not sure what it is or don't want to go grab your code real quick and look it up to see what it is, Plan Analyst will give you a quick, short synopsis of what that building is. So for our building here, we're going to select the 2A, separated occupancies, and we're going to use a sprinkler system. So we've completed that, and we're going to click Continue. As you notice, we've already done part of the code study for us by helping us figure out the type of construction. Now we're looking for other features of this building. It has a stairway. It has an elevator. We don't have any ramps. We don't have any delayed egress locks or electromagnetic locks, and so crawl spaces, stages. But we do have a mechanical penthouse, so we're going to click that. Now we have the option here of including the plumbing fixture count with this or not. So we're going to say, yeah, we want to see the plumbing fixture count. So we include that. So now we do Continue. Now our last step here before we actually get our code study is deciding what we want our report to look like. It's defaulting to all summary. This bottom yellow box kind of shows you what a summary report looks like. You'll notice for the allowable area, it just gives you for each floor and the total for the building, and the same thing is true of your plumbing fixtures. It gives it just for the floor, but for the exiting, it gives you for each area and the floor. So for this type of thing, it gives you every little detail for each area with that area. Now, you can choose this any way you want. You can choose, like, I want summary for the allowable area. I want detailed on the exiting. Summary on the plumbing is okay. Accessibility, I want detailed. Facilities, I just need a summary because I don't need all the details. Penetrations is summary, and so you can mix it like that. Or you can click one of these buttons to set it all to detailed or all to summary. For our example here, we're going to set it all to detailed so that you can see the complete report. So now we're ready to create our code study. So we're going to click the Create Code Study button. It is now creating a code study. This little bar is moving up here, and as soon as it gets to the top there, we'll know we have the code study. So now our code study is complete. You can see that it prints back the information that you've put in. We have a type 2A construction. We have a sprinkler system in it that is used for allowable area and height. We're using it based on the separation of the uses by fire barriers. These are the address requirements. Here's the information we put in about the lot, and it's increasing at 42.24% due to the frontage of the lot. The height of the building is at 50 meters. The allowed is 25.7. So we see that the allowed height is within the allowed height. Now we're going to go into each area. The office area, here's the actual area, the allowed area, and the percent of that. The number of occupants, based on what it was based on. Number of exits provided, exits are okay. Number of exit width is 2.52. We only provided 2, so our exit width is inadequate. And the actual, in this one here, I didn't put the actual travel distance, so it's not there. It's telling you about the doors and gives you any exceptions. And here's our plumbing. We need 6 lavatories and water closets, and then it goes to the conference room, and then it goes to the results for that floor. So you have each area and the floor. And then we work down through this. You'll see here's the areas on the 3rd floor. We do our office and our conference room, which is the same as the floor we just looked at. And we 3rd floor results. And on the 2nd floor, you see I've got our office 201, 202, 203. We've got our toilets, and we've got our hallway and stairs, and all the information that you need to evaluate that for each one of those. And here's the 2nd floor results. And then the 3rd floor, we've got our warehouse, our office, and our sales area. And 1st floor results. And then we get the building results. Here's the total building fire area and the allowed area and the ratio. So here's the doors, exit width information, telling you exits need to be continuous. Exit separation is 1/3. That's because we picked the sprinkler system. Otherwise, it would be 1/2. So it's actually giving you not just a generic thing, but it's telling you what this building requires for everything. Exit signs, landings at doors, the bolt locks, stairway requirements. You can see that minimum stairway width in this one is 1118 millimeters. And it's giving you all the headroom requirements and handrail requirements, the guard requirements. Areas of refuge are not required because we have the automatic sprinkler system. The airways enclosure with 2 hour, and it needs 1.5 hours doors on the or any openings into it. Here's the elevator requirements. Elevator lobbies required. Accessibility. Now we're getting into fire resistive. For each side of the building, we have what's required for, like, bearing walls got to be 1 hour, non-bearing 0. No limit on protected openings because it's facing the street. The east side, where we were closer to the property line, you'll see that bearing walls and non-bearing walls have to be 1 hour rated on both sides. The maximum unprotected openings is 25% of the wall area. And so it has all those requirements for you for each side. And then it gets into the building itself. It gives you the requirements. Scroll down just a tad too far here. The requirements for each area. You can see that interior bearing walls must be 1 hour and non-bearing are 0 hour. Primary structural frame must be non-combustible and it must be 1 hour. Floor ceiling assemblies are 1 hour and non-combustible. So you're getting all the requirements for each area. It's telling you about marking and identification of walls, shaft requirements, and then the smoke barriers, penetration of fire assemblies, duct requirements, separation of occupancies. Now, since we put these different occupancies, or told it need to be separated so we could get a lower type of construction, you need to put these firewalls in. But so between the B occupancy and the A3 occupancy, you got to have 1 hour. Between the S1 and the A3, you got to have 1 hour. And between the M and the A3. So now you know you got to have check the plans for 1 hour separation between these uses. Separation of incidental uses, it lists that. We see that this building has to have a Class B roofing. And portable fire extinguishers are required. Standpipe, Class 3 standpipe is required. Fire alarm system, manual fire alarm system is required. Here's the accessible facilities rundown. And the penthouse requirements. So at this point, we have our code study that tells us everything for this building. As you notice as we scroll through it, it's not just giving you a bunch of general information. It's giving you the information of exactly how it applies to this building. So we have our plans. We have our code study. So the next thing we need to do is actually check the plans. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to go into the correction report section of the program. So we're going to click Correction Report. We're going to click New Correction Report for the current project. So this is a list of questions. I'll just go scroll down here a little bit. You can see these questions here were selected based on this project. It's not just a bunch of questions that always show up on every project. For example, if you scroll down here, you'll see it's asking about non-combustible material. That's because we have a Type 2 construction. If we had a Type 5 building, these questions would not be there. If we had other hospital uses or some others, there would be questions in here that is not showing. So there's two ways to do this plan check. We can just simply look at each one of these plans, questions, look at the plans, look at the report, and decide, okay, the address identification is not shown on the plans, and you can just double click on that, and we would enter the sheet that we noticed that was on SD-1, and we can say like north side, which is the side that faces the street, and we can add that to the end of our report. Or my preferred method is you can go through the questions one by one. So you click go through questions one by one, and what it does is it works its way down through these questions, and if you don't want to, and you check the plan, and if it's okay, you just say don't add to the report, and it goes to the next question. Occupant load posting, we look at the plan and think, oh, they didn't put a note on the conference room that it needed exiting posting. So we're going to put on sheet A3, we're going to put conference room, and we're going to look at the code study, and the code study is going to say it says 73 maximum people in there. So we put that in there, and we add that to the end of the report. So we go to the next question. Building's not over the allowable area, and so here we're looking here, and we see that the wall between the two occupancies are not 1 hour according to what it's required. So we're going to say that was on sheet A6, and wall at conference room. And we're going to add that to the end of the report. Now, I'm going to stop. You click to stop going through questions, so I won't bore you going through all these questions. So these are the questions that we've added. Now, there was a lot of things that the code study picked up that we did not look at here because I just kind of skimmed over this. Now, this button right here says add problems noted on the code study report. If you click that, all the things, the 2 exits required from this area, the minimum width of exits, the things that was in that code study report, because we chose to enter the optional information, and that is now here. If we didn't put any optional information in, none of this would ever show up. But this is stuff that's been added that was during the code study. Now, the one other option you have is add corrections to the report that is not on the list. Like if you notice something on the plans that is not in the list here, you click that, it gives you a blank one here, and you can say like sheet A-4, west wall, and we need to do this, whatever this is. I'm just making something here. And so we add that to the end of the report. Now you'll see that's on the report here. So once you have these, if you decide something, as you're looking through the plans more, you decide, wait a minute, that was on there, I just missed that and shouldn't have put that in there. You can delete a correction, or if you want to word a correction differently, you can do that. And so you can edit them, delete them. You can sort them in a different order if you prefer. But once you've got this list the way you want it, you do report complete, and then you click the correction required report tab, and here's the correction report. So this report here, you have 2 reports. You have the code study, and you have this one here. This is a report that you would give to the person who is making the plans comply with code, the architect or whoever submitted the plans, and they would see this list of things that they must take care of. And so it's not that you had to mark up the plans. It's not that you had to type your own report. You just simply print this out, hand it to them, and they know exactly what they need to do to finish this plan for code. That is completes the code study here. The only thing I wanted to mention is when I added that one question in, this one down here at the bottom, we need to do this. If it's a question you want to add on a permanent basis, not just type in once in a while, you can go into the setup that we talked about earlier, edit questions for correction report, and then this will show you, like you can see, these are all the questions. And if you want to change one of those, you can do that. Or if you want to add a question that will show up in reports that we do not have in our list, then you would just simply add this new correction and type that in, and then from then on, it would always show up. You wouldn't have to type it in yourself. This completes our quick review of Plan Analyst. A typical plan can be reviewed in about the same time as this example. You will need a little more time to look through the plans than I used here, but you won't have to use the time I used to explain things. So on average, a typical plan check can be done in about the same amount of time.